Hello, all you stray cats and scallywags out there in the exosphere, and welcome to another jam-packed edition of the Big Buddha Podcast here on 66.6 The Smoke. My name is Buddha. I will be your conductor on this midnight train, taking you from the late hours all the way into the early morning light. So load in, sit back, strap up, and enjoy the ride. And don't forget, if at times you feel alone, just roll up and get stoned. That's what the rest of us are doing. Fucking stupid. What's up, everybody? What's up? It's been a little bit. Big Buddha Podcast. This is episode 6. Pick up sticks. We're up in this bitch. And coming at you live and direct from the luxurious kitchen studios here in the legendary DuPont, Illinois, as always. We're gonna have some fun today. You know what I'm saying? There wasn't a whole lot I really want to cover. You know, I'm trying to get more lighthearted. This wasn't supposed to be a political podcast, so I'm not trying to do that as often anymore. But if I feel the need to ventilate my mental state, I'm gonna do that for sure. Anytime, you know what I'm saying? It could just be, you guys could be having a good time. I could be talking about something lighthearted, and then all of a sudden, bam, hit you with something serious. You know, that's the way it is. Also, you know what I'm saying? In the future, we'll do a little bit more of the conspiracy stuff. I'm about 50-50. I got half the people say they like the conspiracy stuff, and about half of the people say, like, all right, maybe you should, not go out on a whim quite as much, you know, with the information you're giving out to people. So leave that in the comment section if you guys do or do not like the conspiracy section of the show. I enjoy doing it. I think that it's a big part of what I'm doing, but you know, the comedy and the cannabis are the two main things I kind of wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's just one of those things. I'm gonna keep getting better. Like I said, it's only episode 6, and the next episode I plan on having a guest. Now that I've said that, I guess it's like glued in now. You know what I'm saying? Now that I've said it out loud. It especially like while I'm recording right now. So this is coming live to you guys, and now I feel pressure. That's how I get shit done in my life. I'm a procrastinator to the max. I will wait until the very last possible second to do anything, and so like I have to pressure myself. I've always been like a crammer for a test. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a test, you just like cram, study, and hurt your head the night before. That's pretty much what I was about my whole time being a student. I was talking to my friends earlier. It's like my whole life growing up in school, you know, I was never stupid, but I always got like C's and D's because I just didn't give a shit, especially about most of the stuff I was learning. And once I got old enough to learn the difference, I realized that most of it was bullshit anyway. But, you know, all my teachers would say the same shit from fucking second grade up until I graduated high school. Derek is really smart. He just doesn't apply himself. And I'm like, I'm trying. I wasn't trying. I did the bare minimum, you know what I'm saying? And that's possibly why, I'm still here at Dupo, but, you know, let's not talk about that. What's funny is the other day I was sitting here, I'm like, dude, I'm embodying, like, a stoner stereotype. And you know what's crazy? Like, and this is the problem with any stereotype, really, but especially the stoner community. One thing I've learned from my other friends, like, I smoke weed. You know, I don't call myself a right-winger or a left-winger, but when it comes to politics, I lean a little bit left. And, I got friends that are right-wing that smoke weed, as much weed as I do. And so it's definitely not like a left-wing, like, liberal hippie thing to do. Like, there's people from all walks of life and all, you know, viewpoints and, all races and everything that smoke the shit out of weed. We've been doing it for thousands of years. It's not going to stop. You know what I'm saying? There's cannabinoid receptors in your brain. You know what I mean? And I think that means something. You know, the fact that we have that and it's been put on earth, you know, I'm not religious. I don't think I've talked about that a lot, but I'm not religious. But the Bible does have an excerpt or a script that talks about any herb-bearing seed is for human consumption. So that's something to think about next time you're judging your average stoner. You know what I mean? But I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, damn, I'm still in Dupo. I grew my hair out for a coronavirus. I was on protest about my hair. Now I'm just playing. I actually didn't go to the hair doctor. I haven't been to a barber or a stylist in a while, and like months, and my hair's getting fucking ridiculous. I'm at that like the 13-year-old that's like, I'm gonna grow my hair out. Am I gonna cut my hair? And it gets all fucking like Astra cut your wings and shit, like by your ears and shit. That's where I'm at. It's like that embarrassing like middle ground, and it just doesn't look good or feel good. And plus, it's like hot outside, and so I'm just like, I'm fat as it is, so I'm dying, you know what I mean? But I haven't cut my hair, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like embodying, I was wearing a tie-dye, and I'm in public like wearing fucking flip-flops and shit, and I'm embodying this stoner stereotype, and I'm like, man, this is why this shit exists, you know what I mean? But I was sitting there thinking, I was like, dude, there's so many stereotypes that not necessarily everybody, you know, like embodies or whatever, but I mean, we for sure, you know, hit a few marks, you know what I mean? One of them, you know, happens for me, you know, I smoke, and I don't think it's because I smoke that I'm lazy, you know what I'm saying? But I think that's like the number one stoner stereotype, is that like all stoners are lazy. If you think that's true, if you think all stoners are lazy, I challenge you to look at Michael Phelps. I know that's like, you're gonna be like, oh, that's situational, and he's one guy. There's tons of fucking successful stoners. Whether you know they're stoners or not. Fucking Elon Musk smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast. He embodied, I don't give a fuck. And like, people were like, oh, that's gonna hurt your business. No, like he had numbers rise in sales after that. And, you know, I mean, he learned his lesson, though, because they slammed him in the media, so he didn't smoke weed the second time he went on Joe Rogan. But the first time he smoked weed, and I happen to believe that, like, most of his good ideas probably came, you know, and artists, you know, I have talked about it before, just like a head change. It doesn't matter if it's like weed or like alcohol or whatever, but, you know, anything could take you out of like your normal mind state and enhance your creativity. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, if you're an inventor or a singer or a comedian or a writer or, you know, any of the above, you know what I'm saying, etc., you can smoke weed and get yourself into, like, an altered mind state. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's, like, this is, like, the weed is just, like, the safest way to do that. You know, another would be, like, mushrooms or, like, tripping, you know, and which is, like, a much more, you know, intense experience than smoking a J. That's why I hate when people compare weed to alcohol, because I'm like, no, dude, I could smoke a joint and go to work or go about my day. If I fucking drink too much, dude, I'm not doing shit. You know what I mean? Plus, I'm like probably gonna be a terrible person the whole time I'm there. You know, you don't want me there if I've been drinking for real. And you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like stoners are lazy. That's one. Stoners live in their parents' basement, which, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Which, I mean, I could see that. Like, it happens, you know. But I know plenty of people that have their own place that smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? And actually, like, if you grow weed, if you're like a person that's cultivating, or you have an actual career in marijuana, if you're in one of the states lucky enough, and you're one of the few people in the country that are lucky enough to do that for a living, you fucking love your life, dude. You're doing big shit, and let me tell you, you're not fucking living in your parents' basement if you're cultivating weed. You know what I'm saying? So saying all stoners, you know, live with their parents is dumb. You know what I'm saying? Skaters. I'm reading a list here, but you know, like they said skaters. So like, I have a question. So, like, not all skaters have to smoke weed. Or vice versa. Yeah, no, I'm fucking high right now. I'm fucking it up. Not all stoners have to skate, but do all skaters smoke weed? It's a good question. We're full of weed questions, you know what I'm saying? Another, like, paranoid stoners. I mean, I have to admit, I'm occasionally paranoid. That's a good stereotype. I don't know if it's because of the weed, but in my old age, like as I'm getting older, the more I care about getting arrested and shit. Yeah, like the most harmful thing about weed is getting caught with it. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm going to Missouri where it's not legal, but like I said, even in Illinois, you get pulled over, you get a fucking DUI. That sucks. I'm not trying to do that either. Yeah, so I'm paranoid. Fuck 12. Paranoid about the po-pos. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have said fucked. I'm sorry for any potential 12 people. I doubt they've gotten this far into the podcast. unless they're like FBI and they're fucking they're investigating me for my conspiracies to see if I'm Antifa or something. There goes my paranoid side again. I'm sitting here like, man, are the FBI after me? I heard a helicopter outside earlier. I don't think stoners are as paranoid as meth heads. You know what I mean? Like, like meth heads will like hear conversations that aren't even there. So yeah, like there's no way a stoner is as paranoid as a meth head. That's a dumb stoner stereotype, because I don't think everybody gets paranoid. Although I have been there, especially when I'm driving. Mostly when I'm driving. Like I've never been smoking weed in someone's house and been like, what the fuck's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like it's just another session. You know what I mean? Stoners only watch stoner movies. I don't know about that one. That's a weird stereotype. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a good stoner movie. I think it's relatable content, and it's kind of like only for that culture. You know what I'm saying? You only get it if you smoke weed. Like, I've watched stoner comedies of people, like Pineapple Express is a great example of a great movie that I think is fucking hilarious. Top 10 favorite, like, comedies of all time, top 3 favorite stoner movies of all time. And I think that it's just funny because, like, I've watched it with sober people, and they're like, I don't get it. I'm like, you don't get it? They're like, I don't think it's that funny. I'm like, dude, it's because you don't smoke and or you're not high currently. Because if you were high right now, you'd be laughing your dick off along with me. Like, and there's certain movies that are just so funny that, like, that's why I think that's dumb, because I like horror movies. Obviously, that's not a stoner thing. I tear up during rom-coms. That's why I can't watch them. You know what I'm saying? And that has nothing to do with stoner movies, okay, people? But I will admit, I do love, like, the core stoner movies. You know what I'm saying? All the comedies, you know, the Cheech and Chongs are great. You know, you go back to, like, the Big Lebowski, shit like that. I love shit like that. But then again, like, you know, I like anything in that era. I like a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies as well. You know, most of his shit, I like, it's in my favorite movies of all time category. So that's kind of dumb. I mean, I'm not saying it's not that way for, like, I'm sure there is a stoner somewhere that, like, only watches stoner movies, but it's not gonna be me. I watch all kinds of shit. I like to be entertained. You know, sometimes smoking weed and, like, connecting with a piece of music or like a film, you know, which you would consider a piece of art, you know what I mean, is the best way to enjoy anything. I think I'm one of those stoners, like, I'll smoke weed before I go smoke weed. I smoke weed before I do everything because I feel like I've, like, either convinced myself that it makes everything better or it legit makes everything better. Either way, I'm happy with it. You know what I mean? If I've successfully fooled myself into doing something that makes me happier, then, you know, a mofo like me can use that from time to time. Stoners are meant for each other. I'll say yeah. Like, I'm not saying you have to, like, be a stoner to, like, be in love with another stoner. Like someone could be straight edge and love a stoner for sure. There's a good level of understanding and patience and, like, you know, respect has to come from the sober party. You know, if you got someone that doesn't smoke weed, or, like, you drink on the weekends, but your boyfriend smokes weed or your girlfriend smokes weed, you know, and you can't for, like, a job, or you just don't believe in it, or you don't like it or whatever, you got to respect their decision not to do it or to do it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, as far as a relationship goes, but I will say, two stoners do get along. It's, I mean, the only thing that sucks is, like, you know, you got to smoke twice the amount of weed. If I had a stoner girlfriend right now and she smoked as much as me, we'd be in trouble financially. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing and a bad thing. I feel like you guys are, you know what I mean? You guys are meant for each other. I mean, I don't know. Just because you smoke weed doesn't mean you're good for another person. But, you know, if you get to know somebody and, you know, you guys are compatible, like an eHarmony type compatibility, you know what I'm saying? Then sure. You know, I was also going over, like, stoner terminology, you know, and I saw some shit that I didn't necessarily know, like, an aristocrat. They're long, skinny joints rolled for mostly the aesthetic. They can look impressive. They can be fiddly and difficult to smoke, especially if not rolled properly. That's every joint. If you don't roll a joint properly, it's gonna suck. Not even just for you. Like, even if it's just for you, like, a joint sucks if, like, you're smoking it by yourself and it's burning all fucked up or it's not hitting right or something, then a joint sucks for sure. But if you pass a joint, sometimes motherfuckers with vacuum lungs be sucking the ash halfway down the motherfucking the side of the joint, you know what I mean? And that sucks too. But yeah, if you're rolling these aristocrats, it's just a long, skinny joint. Some aristocrats can reach up to a foot in length, some reaching over 16 inches total. Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that. It's dumb. That's dumb. Why would you? I mean, get an extendo. Get an extendo blunt, roll that motherfucker. And then it doesn't have to be long and skinny and smoke like shit. I don't understand why you would do that. A back roll. Also known as rolling inside out. The back roll is a European joint rolling technique. I never knew about this one. That provides stoners with a slower, more even burn. This method also reduces the amount of paper used, which showcases the taste of the flower rather than that of the rolling paper itself, which is something I like. You know what I mean? I don't like flavored anything because I want to taste my flower. You know what I'm saying? Like if I smoke a Swisher or a blunt wrap, it's either a sweet or I got to get the unsweet, the diamonds or the silvers, depending on what I'm smoking that day. If it's a blunt, for sure. Even like, I'm not really down with like flavored joint papers either. I know this is probably a joint. They're talking about it's European, so I don't know if they smoke blunts yet, but I'm sure they do. I'm sure they smoke blunts over there. Dutch masters or something, probably. It can be tricky to master. Some find back rolling easier than traditional rolling, though. It's worth trying out if you struggle with joints. I don't see how rolling it inside out is going to make it any easier or harder to roll, other than the fact that you're not utilizing the glue strip on top. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously rolling it inside, I don't know if I'm misunderstanding the purpose of that or not, but a bake sale is another word for a session. Hey, I've never used that though. I've never called my home and be like, hey bruh, you want to come to my bake sale? If I did that, my friends would be like, you're fucking stupid. We're not friends anymore. We're not hanging out. You're fucking dumb. Of course, the baked, blazed, blitz, blunts, blunt wrap, Bogart. Yeah, Bogart's a good one. Motherfuckers didn't know that. I used to work at a strip club as a DJ. And consequently, we would end up smoking weed sometimes in the back. Don't tell my boss. And, I rolled up a blunt one day and I was sharing it with a couple of my friends. And one of the girls who wasn't my friend was sitting there and she's like eating food. And then like got like frustrated when we didn't pass the blunt to her. She's like, I hit that. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then she like hit it. And then like decided to like tell a story. And like in the middle of her story, she like was holding my blunt still. And like stopped and like took a bite out of her food. And then started telling her story. I was like, all right, hit that though. Hit it though. And then like she hit it like 6 times. So finally I like grabbed it from her and she acted all offended. I was like, bitch, it's my shit. Like finally like my patience had worn thin. I was finally like, bitch, it's my shit. Don't try to Bogart my shit. You know what I'm saying? So Bogart's important. Don't be Bogart and shit. Bouldered is the term. Extremely intoxicated. Being bouldered usually includes couch lock, cravings for food, laughing, drowsiness. Anytime I smoke indica, I am bouldered. As by definition, anyway. Bud tender. One word, bud tender. The employee or employees of the dispensary. Bud tender. Instead of bartender, it's bud tender. That's funny, though. I can see that. Somebody that works at a dispensary. You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of funny ones on here. A carnivore. A consumer who prefers edibles to any other type of consumption call themselves carnivores. So if you don't smoke weed and you only eat edibles, you are considered a carnivore. Edibles are special, man. I could see why somebody would want to do that. You know what I mean? Edibles are one of those things where like, you eat it. And you don't really, like, if you've never, like, been high off of an edible before and you eat one, it's going to take, like, 45 minutes to an hour before you're, like, in the shit. You know what I mean? And it definitely, it's different than smoking weed. If you've never eaten weed and you're going to, make sure you don't have anything to do that night or you're going to, like, chill and, like, watch a cool movie or something. Because you're not, like, going to want to go out and, like, eating an edible and, like, going to the club is not something you want to do, probably. You're going to be very chill, very relaxed. Honestly, I I've eaten edibles that have like given me tracers before. You know what I'm saying? Like I've like been able to like see tracers. I didn't know if I was like tripping. You know what I'm saying? So edibles are heavy, like processed by your liver. It's like the THC is processed by your liver, and it like turns it into something that's like 10 times more psychoactive than THC. So you're getting into the shit if you get into edibles, and so that's pretty brave for someone to be a carnivore. Because if you only ingest weed that way, that's a pretty intense way to ingest weed. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's for people that like don't want to smoke. You know what I'm saying? Another word for hotboxing here is clam baking. I kind of like that one better. I'm not gonna. That's official, y'all. I'm taking clam baking over hotboxing. Although hotboxing is just classic. I mean, it makes sense too. Like you roll up the windows, and when I hotbox, I legit fucking hotbox. Like no AC in the hotbox. I don't want air circulation. I want there to be just smoke floating everywhere, free floating everywhere. You know, yeah, that's fucking for sure. Clam bacon, though. You guys want to go get clam baked? Go in a hot box. Go in a hot box. Go on a back road and clam bake real quick. That sounds weird. It sounds sexual in a way. Cooked, cottonmouth, crossfaded. Yeah, that makes sense. Like when you're drunk or something, like, or just in my mind, crossfaded is anytime I'm on two substances and or two or more, and I'm fucking crossfaded. Yeah. There's all kinds of cool little fucking words that I ain't never heard of. Down smoke is another word for secondhand smoke. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Fatty, florist, fried. Gasper is an older term for an especially strong joint or blunt. But it was originally meant for tobacco cigarettes. This term was popular among soldiers in the British Army in the early 1900s because it was believed that it was unfiltered, high-tar cigarettes soldiers smoked led them to gasp for air during training. So yeah, gaspers, huh? So a big blunt, a big old fatty is another word for a fatty is a gasper because it makes you gasp for air. I don't know if I like that. That's kind of cheesy. Greening out often manifests itself as vomiting, dizziness. So you can't overdose on marijuana, everybody, but you can green out if you smoke too much. Hog leg, I say that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Jefferson Airplane is a direct reference to the popular counterculture rock band. A Jefferson Airplane is a matchstick broken into a V formation. They can be used as an improvised roach clip, and this allows the user to smoke the very end of a joint without burning their fingers. Yeah, that's a pretty handy little life hack right there. Muggles. Apparently this is a stoner term. Also Harry Potter. Shout out to Harry Potter. Long before Harry Potter series used the term. I never knew this. Oh, this is news, y'all. This is breaking news. Long before Harry Potter series used the term to refer to non-magical humans, muggles, were quite simply joints. So a muggle is I'm never calling a joint again. It's called a muggle. You know what I'm saying? And a 1931 Time magazine article details the uprising of popularity of cannabis and specifically refers to muggles along with reefers and marijuaners as terms to describe cigarettes filled with the ground-dried cannabis. Cool. Almost unsurprisingly, J.K. Rowling was not aware of the word's history as she simply chose it because of how silly it sounded. If joints were called muggles, it would make reading Harry Potter absurd. There's a new smoke game for you guys. Read a Harry Potter book, and every time the word muggles happens, you have to smoke a joint. Smoke two. As a matter of fact, it might be few and far in between. A pinner, small joint, yeah. Have you ever rolled a pinner? You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do too many of these. I just think it's fucking funny. There's some shit I haven't heard of. You know. There's some obvious shit on there, too. Another thing I was thinking about was, like, all the you guys remember the memes that were like all the high thought memes that were out there for a while? Pretty fun. I got high the other day and I went through a bunch of them. And I was saving them just to read to you guys. One of them that I thought was really funny was, is there another word for synonym? which is like, damn. A lot of these were like the hits blunt memes. Like it's like hits blunt. It's like if I weigh 99 pounds and I eat a pound of nachos, am I 1% nacho? I mean, yeah, that would make sense to me. That's a logical answer to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a stoner thought that, like, somebody for real had. You know what I mean? Fucking, if two vegans are arguing, is it still considered beef? Yeah, that's fucking stupid, kind of. Is a group of squids called a squad? Yeah, I don't know. Stoners are funny, man. And my whole point about all this shit is, though, I got off on a tangent talking about stoner thoughts and terminology and shit, but, you know, all stoners come from all walks of life. There's not like one kind of stoner, you know what I'm saying? So, and this is why stereotypes in general are fucking stupid. You know what I mean? Stereotypes in general are dumb because you can never throw a blanket statement on a group of people and basically expect it to be all the way true, all the way around. But in saying that, it's hypocritical of me because I totally embody a stoner stereotype. A couple of them probably, you know. But you know what they say, birds of a feather, guilty by association too. Also, I just like wearing tie-dye. What the fuck's up with that? Like, I got two favorite things to wear. It's black shirts, black band shirts, and tie-dyes. You know what I mean? And it's just, that's like fun shit for me to wear. I like wearing tie-dyes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you be you, you know what I mean? Quit worrying about the next man or the next woman or the next whatever you consider yourself as. Be that. Be that motherfucker. Who cares about the next person? Because I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, all you got's you. You know what I mean? Like, you got people you love. You got people you trust. But at the end of the day, you got yourself. So you might as well be happy in the skin you're in. You might as well be happy in the clothes you're in. You might as well be happy smoking whatever you're smoking, except for crack. Don't do crack. Or heroin or none of that shit. None of the hard drugs. We covered that last episode. There's good drugs and there's bad drugs. If you feel the need to get fucked up, let me tell you, psychedelics, psychedelics will get you there, my friend. If you haven't dabbled, you know what I'm saying. If you've dabbled in hard drugs and you've never came over to the psychedelic side on the dark side of the moon and really, even specifically the dark side of the moon, eat a quarter bag of mushrooms and listen to the dark side of the moon just once and see if you don't have a good time. You know what I mean? I've done it. Mushrooms are actually one of my favorite things. I enjoy LSD a little bit more, but it's only because it's more controllable. Like, when I eat mushrooms, I turn into like 8-year-old Buddha. Like, I'm all giddy and I'm laughing, and it's actually a great fucking time. I laugh so hard that like my cheek muscles hurt the next day from smiling too much. And that's the only downside of mushrooms. Plus, like, the horrendous shits the next day. You're essentially giving yourself food poisoning. But, you know, they say mushrooms, you know, like, I know a lot of people say, like, they don't get as high or, you know, whatever. The thing is, like, if you eat nothing but stems, you're only going to get, like, a body high. You have to eat a combination of stems and caps because caps tend to give you more of the visuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically, if you eat a bunch of caps, you're gonna get a body high. You might get some visuals, but like if you eat a bunch of caps, as opposed to a bunch of stems, you're gonna get a lot more of like the walls breathing, the carpet moving, things like that. You know, and honestly, like the way it grows, fungi in general, the way it grows is interesting. The way it spreads, but like there's so many different types of fungi, and you know they say that psilocybin is unlike any other substance on this earth chemically. You know what I mean? So it is an alien substance in itself. Mushrooms are all natural as far as, you know, we know, you know what I'm saying? It's like weed. We know this is a gift from the earth. You know, we don't have to add anything to it. There's not much of a process other than drying that you really have to do and make sure that no air contaminants jump on the mushrooms, because they can turn bad pretty quickly. If you got mold or if your mushrooms have turned blue, they're probably going bad or have gone bad already. And, you know, that's all bad too. But, you know, the mushrooms that you get now, you know, you could trip pretty hard off them. I don't really like the taste of mushrooms. To me, it's like eating dirty styrofoam. I remember the first time like I really ate like a good amount of mushrooms. I was with my friends and we were watching Get Him to the Greek, and he got to the part where it was like fuzzy walls and I couldn't handle it. And I was like staring at my friend's fucking coat, and I had imagined that like his coat was like a turtle, and I don't know why, but I was like freaked out by that. I'm like, man, it's all right, little guy, we'll let you free. And I ended up like in the middle of South City, St. Louis at 3 a.m. sitting outside like singing, playing my guitar, singing to the moon. And I was going through like a heartbreak. I was going through like, a bad time. And the best way I can describe it is like the first time like I've stepped away from a situation and realized how small of a portion it was of my life. The best way I can describe it to people is like whenever you used to like work on one of those huge like table-sized maps for school or something, and you spent like hours working on the middle part of the map, and you've been focusing on this one small section for so long. That begins frustrating to look at. And then like finally, you're going to take a break or you're done for the night. You stand up and you look at the full map and you realize, damn, like I really didn't do that much. And, like that's how it was. Like I was so focused on my heartbreak and how I felt and her and all that. Like whenever I did mushrooms for the first time, it was like I stepped away from the table for the first time. I was able to see how small of a part of my life that was. And that was really refreshing for me. I think mushrooms do that for a lot of people. I know that I heard that they don't cure depression, but they like reset like the depressed brain so that like you have a shot tomorrow. And I've experienced that myself. It's like a lot of people call it ego death. It's just like a shower of like good endorphins in my brain. Like the next day I'm like much more positive. I'm much more thought oriented. Like I want to come up with ideas, and I'm much more likely to write songs and in my case make beats or anything like that like the next day after I've had a nice trip, whether I really acid or mushrooms, to be honest with you, but mushrooms, man, in specific, have really helped me. Also, like I've just had a good time. Like it's not always a spiritual journey. Like that's what I like about mushrooms. If you eat mushrooms, you can just have a great time. Me and my friend Beans, it was his first time ever eating them, and we ate mushrooms. Like we got a quarter bag and we each ate an eighth, and then like there was spore dust. And I know a lot of people. This is like skepticism because a lot of people say like you don't get like smoking the spores doesn't do anything. I'm telling you, every time I've ever done this shit, it's fucking blasted me off. And we did that. We were like watching Jumanji after we ate our mushrooms, and we smoked the spores. And then like that big, like he came out, and like he was like that big flower thing came out of the chimney or whatever, and I like couldn't handle it. I had to like pause it. Then we went and watched like 8 hours of South Park and laughed our dicks off. Seriously, like the funniest shit ever. And shout out to South Park. That shit's classic. And if you've never done mushrooms and watched South Park, it's a good fucking time, I will say. We watched the whole season. It was fantastic. And the next day, like I said, my muscles and my cheeks hurt. So it's not always a spiritual journey, but you can have a spiritual journey. In fact, it's a lot of people's opinion that one of the oldest, most wide-known tales known to man was a story based on someone that was tripping off of something called manna. And basically manna was a biblical time bread that they had made back in the day. And it was made of a bunch of things, but primarily it was made of mushrooms and things that they had found in the cattle fields. So, sheep and ox and whatever the fuck else they were herding back then, taking shits, and the shit fertilizes the ground, and up comes like these little magical fucking sprouts of joy. And they're picking this shit and they like mix it with yeast and or whatever the fuck they did back then. I don't know, wheat, whatever it was, but they made bread out of it. And one night, fucking Moses, was it Moses? Yeah, it was Moses. Moses got. Sorry, I had to sharpen up on my my biblical terminology there. But Moses had gotten, and this is not in the Bible, by the way, this is speculation, but people think that he had feasted on wine and manna, which, like I said, is like a derivative of mushrooms. Like they make them with mushrooms. And then he took a walk, and he had one of the most famous conversations ever, where it was the situation where he depicted a burning bush. And, like, they say that the burning bush, like he talked to God or whatever. And, like, I don't know, like some people were saying like maybe that was code for like DMT. You know what I'm saying? There's like maybe he found like a DMT plant, like, like the bark that causes like they make ayahuasca tea out of it, shit like that. Like maybe that was a burning bush that like he had inhaled and now he's like tripping off DMT. But I think it was the manna. Like he was so gone off these mushroom cakes and the wine that he went and took a walk and had a conversation with God. You know what I mean? Like the burning bush was maybe like something that he saw. Like my friend's shower curtain turned all different colors one time when I ate, and then the next morning it didn't look anything like that. You know what I'm saying? So like maybe he saw something in this bush when he was tripping balls on mushrooms. And, who knows, man? Maybe See, it's in my opinion that we were doing shit like this way back then, Ancient societies definitely had different knowledge than things that we currently have, or things that we're learning through things like that. Like they definitely use psychedelic substances as a benefactor to learn things about the universe and about better ways of how to do things. And I think for a while, like the government here in America, in the wrong way, they used like guinea pigs and they like lock people in facilities, which is not the way to do psychedelics. You need to give them the psychedelics and send them out into nature, and if you must, monitor them. But other than that, it's like a search within yourself. It's like a journey, that you're gonna need to do, and it'll show you more about yourself than just about anything, in the world. I think tripping on any substance, like you lose your mind and then collect your mind all at the same time, and when you come back, you seem to be like a better person. I'm not saying trip every day. You can definitely get burnt out, but, the people do microdose every day. Not saying it's like the best thing ever, but it could be. Hold on one second. I get some agua. But, yeah, man. I'm not going to advocate for mushrooms, but if you haven't tried them, you should at least once, I think. For sure. They've shown me a lot about myself, psychedelics in general. They all offer a unique experience. LSD is not like mushrooms. Mushrooms aren't like LSD. And one lasts longer than the other, one's more intense than the other in a different way. As I said earlier, I don't like eating mushrooms because they taste like dirty styrofoam. It tastes like if you're walking through a park and you look down at the ground, there's like a styrofoam cup and you pick it up and just start chewing on it. That's what mushrooms taste like. So find something you like to roll it in. I get like the $5 box from Taco Bell, pack that bitch if I have to eat them. If I don't, I like grinding them up as much as I can. If you got a bunch of spores, just use that. But if you grind up mushrooms like down as far as you can and you soak them in lemon juice, real lemon juice, for about 30 to 45 minutes. I've heard people say less time. I just like to make sure the deed is done. But you soak them in the lemon juice, and then I strain it into some lemonade, and then I pour shots of it. And I don't mind like the little floaties. I know some people like strain all the floaties out. I don't really necessarily strain all the floaties out. If I can drink them, I'll tolerate them. But because I don't know if that like enhances the trip or not, actually consuming the physical part of the shroom. Because what happens is the lemon juice, the acidity of the lemon juice actually breaks down the psilocybin in the same way that your stomach acid would. And so the idea is that doing it that way hits you faster and harder. And I've experienced that in the past. I was like making beats one night at my buddy's house, and he wasn't doing it, but I was like, I mixed up the mushroom lemonade, and I was sitting there drinking. I did like 6 shots while I was working on this beat, and I looked up and he had cabinets above me, and they started breathing like lungs, and I'm like, oh, I'm tripping. Like that shit definitely works. It's called lemon tech. If you don't know about it, look it up. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like eating mushrooms, you're like me, where it's just, I like the high, I don't even like calling it high, I like the trip of a mushroom, but I hate the taste of a mushroom. Also, it's like nearly impossible for me to eat them these days because they're just so fucking gross, but they're worth it, man. 100%, 100% worth it. If you're afraid of LSD because it's unnatural or whatever, you don't want any chemicals in you, try a mushroom. If you think you're a badass and nothing can touch you and you're not afraid of anything, eat a handful of mushrooms and then try to face your fears, or try to fix your life while you're losing your mind, and then you'll find yourself, and it'll be a better experience. Like I would say, like if it's a bad trip, it sounds like a bad night and a good morning. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna be stronger. You're gonna come back fighting like a titan, like a champion, the next day. And if you don't, like, if you trip too much, like sometimes you can go to a music festival, and you trip too much. I'm gonna put y'all onto some game that my hippie friends had put me on, and basically, it's called 5-HTP, which I believe your brain has 5-HT receptors in the brain or something. But 5-HTP is a vitamin that you can get. It's like a supplement vitamin. And basically you take it and it enhances the serotonin in your brain. Like, it won't supplement serotonin, so if you're completely out, like, sorry. But if, like, I could say, like, it's the difference on some days. Like, even if you're just like a depressed person, I've like had days where I didn't want to get out of bed, and I end up taking one of these, and I'm like Mr. Mojo at work. So 5-HTP, definitely, if you've tripped too much and you like lost your serotonin and your will to live, go to the store, get some 5-HTP. Honestly, I thought they were bullshit, and I disregarded the information for a long time until I bought a bottle. And yeah, man, I'm not gonna say it changed my life or whatever, but it was definitely some good shit. I can't afford it all the time. It's like $20 a bottle, $30 for like the good shit. So, go name brand or whatever when you get it. But if you can, 5-HTP is a way to save your serotonin the next day after a bad little trip thing. But yeah, we had some fun, y'all. You know what I'm saying? This has been real. Been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me here at episode 6 of the Big Buddha Podcast. A lot more coming, y'all. I promised guests, and I mean that shit. I'm gonna have some of my most interesting friends. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to invite some people over, and no doubt it's going to be awesome. We're going to tell some stories, and we're going to talk conspiracy. I plan on talking aliens and more psychedelic stories. So, stay tuned. Stay with me. Don't abandon me. Don't leave me here talking to myself, because I'll still be here talking to myself. And, I don't know when to call it quits. So if you guys are listening, make sure you guys are commenting, sharing with your friends. I'd really appreciate it. We got almost 300 likes on the page. I'd like to get a bunch more. You know what I'm saying? You can find me on Spotify. I'm working on the Apple thing. I'm still working on the Google and the Pandora and all that. But Spotify and YouTube, the Big Buddha Potcast, P-O-T, like pots and pans, or like smoking pot. The podcast, and you can find me on Spotify and YouTube at that the Big Buddha Podcast. Also, if you guys are interested in music, you can find my music at The Real Buddha on YouTube, or you can just search Buddha on Facebook and it should pop up. I do all kinds of music. I'm a music producer, primarily rooted in hip-hop and R&B, stuff like that. So if you're into music, check it out. If you're not, cool, that's what's up. Just, fuck me, right? I'm not gonna force my music down your throats. I'm gonna rap for 45 minutes right now. Here we go. All right, I'm good. But thanks for joining me. I'm just playing. I'll see you next time. Episode 7 coming up later this week, hopefully with a guest. I'm making it my duty. It's my promise to you. I appreciate all y'all, all 300 of y'all. Make sure you guys tell your mom, tell your mom's mom, tell your friends' friends, and eventually this will be a thing. I'm trying to make it a thing, y'all. God bless. Good night.